Hello and welcome to another video in the 401k Control Process Overview series. In this video, we're going to show you how to take your employer 401k plan choices, analyze them, determine how to categorize them, and ultimately put them into the reallocation worksheet, which will be used as your template anytime a new action report comes out. An important disclaimer before we start that Compass Investors is not an investment advisor or a financial planner firm. What we provide is for your educational purposes only, and you are fully responsible for your own investment decisions. We encourage you to consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and remember that all investing carries risk and no one should ever risk more than they can afford to lose. Under no circumstances will Compass Investors be held liable for any losses incurred. Horizon and the 401k Control Service is an independent publication of Compass Investors, and we are not affiliated with any employer or any benefits provider. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. What you see displayed on the screen is an export from a particular employer named Lemongrass. This is their list of 401k plan choices. Your benefits site will display your funds in any number of ways, but they're typically categorized within major asset class. As you can see here, we have foreign global company stock funds, of which there are 2. We then have another category, large company domestic stock funds, of which there are 3. We have a self-directed brokerage account. We have bond, money market, and stable value funds, of which there are 6 choices. We have small and medium domestic stock funds, of which there are 6 choices. We have target date and asset allocation funds, of which there are several. And lastly, we have specialty investment funds, of which there are 2. If you refer to the Horizon reallocation process document for the 401k Control Service, you will see that there is a step about categorizing your employer plan choices. This is a high-level overview of what we're about to do, but please notice that when we're going through and deciding which funds to include, we're going to be excluding certain funds that don't fall neatly into one of the categories that show up in the action report. Those funds that can be excluded include funds that are typically categorized as blended, asset allocation, multi-asset, target date fund, or other. Returning to our list of fund choices, I'm going to go ahead by example and begin to complete the reallocation worksheet. The best way to do this is one fund at a time. So let's go ahead and open the reallocation worksheet. Here you will see a template organized by asset class, where we can enter fund names and fund categories. We're going to need to do this just one time, and then anytime the list of fund choices changes. So I'm going to be going back and forth between the list of fund choices and the action report, and using the web to find information needed about each of the fund choices. Let's start with the foreign global company stock funds, of which there are 2. Now this employer was kind enough to provide us with both a ticker symbol and the full company name. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and begin to copy this information into the appropriate category in the worksheet. So I'm just using Control-C combination to copy the fund name. And since we are working with the international category first, I'm going to go ahead and paste that in here. You can also include the ticker symbol. And let's go ahead and copy information about the second fund. and the ticker symbol. Now you'll notice there's also a column called category for each one of these funds. Let's go ahead and determine what should go in there. And here's where we're going to turn to the web. Now because we have the ticker symbol already, this makes it pretty easy, and I'll show you later in the video how you do this if you don't know the ticker symbol. But let's go ahead and take the first one, and I'm going to go to morningstar.com. Enter the ticker symbol and scroll down to where it says category, foreign large growth. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste that here. I'm going to repeat that for the Vanguard Total International Stock Index. Again, ticker symbol in the search bar. Scroll down, and this one's also foreign large blend. Now let's assume for a second that we did not know that this was an international fund or what the ticker symbol was. How would we go about finding that information? That's when we're going to again turn to the internet, and we're going to simply search for that name in Google. And the first thing we need to do is, if we don't know the ticker symbol, we need to try to find something that looks like a ticker symbol. It's usually 5 characters, and you can see that it's starting to appear in the search. We would then proceed as we just did, going to Morningstar with the ticker symbol and finding the category. Let's continue now with the next asset class, which is large company domestic stock funds, the Fidelity 500 Index. Domestic equities can be found at the top of the page. Our first choice, and the ticker. And continuing with the third choice and the ticker. Now we already know, again because this employer was kind enough to categorize it for us, that these are large company domestic stock funds. But again, let's assume that we did not know that and we wanted to categorize these next 3 funds. I'm going to take each ticker symbol in turn, go back to Morningstar, and search for each one. Scrolling down to the category and copying that into the worksheet. I'll repeat that for each of these additional 2. Now notice that while we did know that these were large company mutual funds, we didn't know the specific category broken down as we were able to identify using the Morningstar website. The first fund was a blend, the second was a growth, the third was a value. This will become important when you get the action report, because the action report is going to indicate a favored category, and that will determine where you will put the majority of your investments. So it is very important to have this information. Returning to the list of investment choices, we come to a category called self-directed brokerage. This is a window in the employer plan that allows this individual to invest literally in any available investment vehicle, whether it be a stock or another mutual fund not included. This is another area that we're going to skip over because it's not going to be specifically included in the 401k action report. Of course, you are free to invest in the brokerage window on your own. The next category is the bond, money market, stable value funds, and there are several here. I'm going to go ahead and do just the first one. Then I will fast forward, having done the remainder of these offline, and then come back. The first one is a stable value fund, so that's going to go in the stable value choice here. Ticker symbol. And I'll take the second one. Now I'm going to do the rest of these and then come back. Okay, I have now entered all 6 of these funds, 5 fixed income bonds, and 1 stable valued. I'm going to go ahead and erase the lines that I don't need. And again, we want to now categorize each one of these funds. So I'm going to take each ticker one at a time. I'm going to search for them in Morningstar. I'm going to copy their category. Repeat for the next one. High yield bond. Intermediate core bond plus. Intermediate government. And lastly, intermediate core bond. Now we already know this is a stable value. By the way, stable value funds do not have tickers that you can actually look up. Those are for internal use only. Returning to our list of funds, we have completed this category. Let's move on to the next asset category, which is small medium company domestic stock funds. And we have 6 here. Again, I'll start with the first one and then come back and add the others. Now, these are going to go back into our domestic equities section. We had 3 large companies. We're going to now be doing the small ones. The first one. And let's go ahead and at the same time return to Morningstar, get their category information, mid-cap growth, and include that. We'll do one more. MFS mid-cap value R6, ticker symbol, and it's a mid-cap value. I'm going to go ahead and do the remaining choices now. Okay, I have now completed the entry of the remaining 6 small and mid-cap growth funds, and I've categorized them using information in Morningstar. I'm going to go ahead and erase the remaining choices. We now see that the next category is target date asset allocation. These fall into the category of funds that you do not need to categorize because they will not fall into any one asset class. Looking at the last category, we do see we have some specialty investment funds. Now let's see what these funds are so we can determine if we want to include them in our reallocation worksheet. So we're going to go ahead and look up the ticker symbol, CSJZX. And we see that that fund falls into the real estate category. Well, as it turns out, we do have an area of the worksheet for sector funds, and real estate is one of the 11 sectors. So let's go ahead and record this fund choice here. Ticker, fund name, and category. And let's look at the last one, DFCEX. and we see that this fund is a diversified emerging markets, which happens to be an international fund. So let's go ahead and record this in our international category. And since that was our last fund choice, we can go ahead and remove any additional placeholders. There were no commodity fund choices, so we can remove those. And we now have transcribed the list of funds from our Lemongrass 401k plan choices. We've taken all of these, researched each one of them, decided which ones to include and which ones to exclude, and have all that information now fully categorized by asset class in the reallocation worksheet. You should now save a copy of this locally, and this will be your starting point as soon as the next action report comes out. We hope that you found this video helpful. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact us.